Hey there and welcome back to Vengeance Files. We appreciate every single view and comment. Let us know where you're tuning in from, city, state or country. We love hearing from folks all around the world. Now let's get into today's story. Chapter 1. Let's begin. Victor Lockhart paced across the smooth hardwood of his home office, glancing at his PC Philippe for the third time in under 5 minutes. Just 6 hours remained until his daughter Zoe's wedding to Damon Wilson, heir to a pharmaceutical fortune. It was all supposed to be flawless. The elite venue reserved 2 years back, a guest list curated down to the last name. Even the weather was cooperating, finally clearing after weeks of rain. But something wasn't sitting right. Victor had spent 30 years building his own security consulting business from scratch, earning a name for being brutally efficient and unusually good at spotting lies. That same radar was now quietly firing. His wife of 28 years, Marianne, had been distant for months, disappearing for stretches, brushing off questions, locking her phone, and whispering on the phone like it was all just wedding pressure. That's what Miles Dirty had guessed over drinks last week, but Miles didn't know the half of it. Victor and Marianne had survived the chaos of Hurricane Nathan that wrecked their first home. They'd gotten through Zoe's wild teenage phase, the passing of both their parents. Marianne had stood with him through betrayal by business partners, death threats from old clients, and the financial collapse that nearly wiped them out. She'd always been solid until now. Victor adjusted his deep burgundy tie, recalling how Marianne had insisted on managing every piece of the wedding herself. She'd brushed off his offers to pitch in with a snappy edge that wasn't like her. She'd also been extremely guarded about the guest list, making last-minute changes without filling him in. A knock snapped him out of it. "Come in," he said, his low voice steady. Blake stepped inside, already suited up in his groomsman tux. At 24, he was practically a clone of Victor at that age, tall, squared shoulders, those same intense gray eyes. But while Victor ran cold and precise, Blake had that barely contained energy of someone still figuring out where to put it all. "Mom said we're heading out in 30, Blake said, adjusting his cuff. "She's already gone to help Zoe get ready." Victor gave a nod. "You good? You look tense." Blake paused. Just for a moment, something flickered. Nerves or guilt? Maybe. Just the wedding buzz, not mine, obviously. He forced a short laugh. "Talked to Zoe this morning. She's excited but stressing out over the usual things." Victor glanced at his son. Blake had never been good at hiding the truth. One more thing he got from him. "Is there something I should know?" "No," Blake replied too fast. "Everything's good. He glanced at his watch. "I should go finish getting ready." As Blake walked out, Victor's phone buzzed. Unknown caller. He was about to ignore it, but instinct made him answer. "Mr. Lockhart, Preston here, your mechanic. Your wife's car should be ready by this afternoon. The issue was unusual. Might be worth stopping by before the wedding to talk about it." Victor narrowed his eyes. What mechanic? Marianne always brought her car to the dealer. Silence. "Sorry, wrong number." The call cut off. Victor stared at the screen. Marianne had brought her Mercedes in just yesterday. Something about a weird engine sound. She'd insisted on handling it herself, waving off his offer to take it in. That old sense of suspicion stirred in his gut. He dialed her cell. No response. Then he called the dealership. "No, Mr. Lockhart," the service manager said after checking. "We haven't had your wife's car in. It's not scheduled until next month's regular checkup." Victor hung up, mind churning. He opened his laptop and launched the tracking app he'd installed on Marianne's car years ago. A family-wide security step after a past business threat. He rarely used it, out of respect. The map loaded. The Mercedes was sitting right at home inside the garage Marianne had remodeled last year. 3 bays, automatic door, private garden entrance. A space Victor suddenly realized he hadn't stepped into for months. He shut the laptop. Time to act. He had half an hour before he needed to leave for the ceremony. More than enough to check the garage. Chapter 2. The message. Victor made his way downstairs, giving a nod to Rosa, their longtime housekeeper, who was placing fresh flowers in the entryway. "Mr. Victor, you look so handsome," she said with a smile, her warm Venezuelan accent a brief comfort. Miss Zoe will be thrilled to see you. Thanks, Rosa. Have you seen Marianne this morning? Rosa's smile dimmed slightly. Mrs. Lockhart left early. Took many things for the wedding. She looked tense. Before he could ask more, his phone vibrated again. A new message, different number. Don't go to your daughter's wedding. Check your wife's garage. Victor's blood ran cold. Someone was watching him. Someone knew his plans. Instincts from years of security training took over. He scanned the room. No signs of being watched. But the feeling wouldn't leave. Rosa, did anyone stop by today? Any packages or phone calls? She shook her head, her eyes widening at the tension in my voice. I headed straight to my office and pulled up the security footage on my desktop. Everything looked normal, except the camera pointed at Marianne's. Garage door had been tilted to show only the walkway, cutting out the door completely. That adjustment would have needed Marianne's login. When had she done that? And why? My jaw tightened. I walked to the garage and punched in the interior door code. Access denied. She'd changed it. I froze. In 28 years of marriage, we'd never locked each other out. Not once. I cut through the kitchen and circled to the side garden entrance. This one had both a keypad and an old-fashioned key. I tried my copy. It didn't fit. Another lock replaced. I paused, weighing my options. Forcing entry would trip the alarm unless I shut it down first. As the main system admin, I could disable zones individually. I cut the garage sensors, grabbed a heavy stone from the garden, and smashed the side window in one blow. Clearing the glass, I reached in and unlocked the door. Lights clicked on as I stepped in. At first glance, everything looked normal. Her Mercedes, the workbench, storage shelves. Marianne had been into woodworking for years, made all kinds of furniture for the house, and gave some away as gifts. I moved slowly, scanning the room. Then I noticed something. A shallow dip in the concrete floor just under the workbench, barely visible. A trap door. I had installed hidden storage spaces myself when we built the place, but this one wasn't supposed to be here. I knelt and ran my fingers along the edge until I found the handle. It opened easily. Inside sat a metal lockbox I didn't recognize. I pulled it out and opened the lid. It wasn't even locked. Inside were a burner phone, a thick envelope of cash, and a passport with Marianne's name, but using Palmer, her maiden name, with recent entry stamps from Mexico and the Cayman Islands. There were also offshore bank statements showing over $2 million in holdings. Worst of all, hotel receipts, handwritten notes, and intimate photos of Marianne with someone. I recognized instantly. Lawrence Palmer. No blood relation to Marianne despite the name, just the best man at today's wedding. Damon Wilson's uncle had been around the entire time we were planning the wedding. Someone Marianne had described as an old family friend helping out. My hands didn't shake as I looked through each piece of evidence. My expression stayed. Frozen, cold, and controlled. The most recent hotel charge was from just yesterday, a day-use room at the Four Seasons downtown. This wasn't a random mistake. It was ongoing. And with the offshore account and the passport, this wasn't just cheating. Marian was leaving. While placing everything back where I found it, something small in the corner of the lockbox caught my eye. A velvet ring box. Inside was a platinum. Men's wedding band just like mine except for the engraving. To Lawrence, forever yours, M. I slipped the ring into my pocket right as my phone chimed. A calendar reminder. Departure for the wedding venue in 10 minutes. I put the lockbox back into its compartment and closed the trapdoor. Standing, I dusted off my tuxedo pants and fixed my tie. My thoughts locked into a sharp and brutal focus. Another buzz. A text from that same unknown number. Now you know. What will you do, Mr. Lockhart? Chapter 3. Decision Point. I drove to the venue in complete silence, my mind breaking the situation down like clockwork. 20 minutes until I reached Silver Lake Estate. 10 until the ceremony. 237 guests were already seated in the garden. The coordinator had last told me my daughter was in the bridal suite with Marian and the bridesmaids. Lawrence Palmer was standing next to the groom, waiting at a red light. I called Neil, my assistant. "Sir, aren't you supposed to be at the wedding?" he asked the second he picked up. "I need a full background on Lawrence Palmer. 15. Minutes, quietly, he's the best man. 15 minutes, got it, Neil replied. Then I dialed Russell Thorne, my head of security, ex-Special Forces, now managing protection for my top-tier clients. Russell, I need eyes on everything at Silver Lake Estate, full coverage. We've got Phillips and Mendez already handling general event security, he said. Not enough, I told him. I want it all, comms, entries, exits. Use the Wilson wedding as your cover, but keep Lawrence Palmer in sight at all times. Russell didn't ask why. Understood, was all he said. Silver Lake Estate came into view as I passed through its wrought iron gates. The colonial mansion stood tall on 50 flawless acres. I could see the garden set up beyond the west wing. Cars filled the looped driveway, guests rushing inside. I stayed in the car. A new message came in from Neil, Lawrence Palmer's background file. I scanned. 52, never married, investment banker with high-end clients, properties in New York and Bermuda. Connected to the Wilsons through his sister, married into a farmer empire, spotless record, solid reputation, maybe too perfect. A separate. Ping from Russell. Team's in place. Target showed up 45 minutes ago. He's in the groom's suite with his party. Your wife's with your daughter in the bridal room. Orders? Victor answered. Just watch. Stand by. His phone buzzed. Blake. Dad, where are you? Mom's losing it. Ceremony's starting in 5. I'm outside, Victor said calmly. Let your mum know. I'll be right there. As he slid the phone into his pocket, his fingers brushed the platinum wedding ring, a twin of his own, the ultimate slap in the face. Lawrence would have worn it after the vows, mocking him in secret. Standing among family, Victor shut his eyes, weighing his move. He wouldn't ruin the wedding. Not now. Zoe earned this moment. Later, he slipped in through a side door, avoiding the main crowd. Russell joined him quietly, handing over a tiny earpiece. Channel 3 links you to me directly, Russell said under his breath. You'll hear team feeds. Victor gave a nod, placed the device in his ear and walked toward the bridal suite. He stopped at the door, took a breath and knocked. Come in, Zoe called. She stood in the center, glowing in white silk and lace. For a second, Victor forgot everything. The betrayal, the anger, the blueprint forming in his head. His little girl, now this stunning woman, beaming with eyes that mirrored his own. Dad. She hurried over, careful not to wrinkle her dress. I was getting nervous. Sorry, sweetheart. Last-minute work call. The lie rolled out. You look beautiful. Mary Ann stepped forward from behind Zoe, elegant in a champagne gown that flattered her still youthful shape. Her smile didn't quite reach her eyes. Victor, finally, we were about to send a search party. She kissed his cheek. Her perfume wasn't her usual. He wondered if it was Lawrence's favorite. Traffic, he answered smoothly, taking her hand. He felt her ring against his fingers, gave a slight squeeze, watching her face. Everything set? A flash of discomfort hit her features. Yes, ready. Lawrence has been amazing, fixing last-minute issues with the caterer. Such a dear friend to have. Victor held his easy smile. Years of deal-making paid off. I'll be sure to thank him. The wedding planner peeked in, places, everyone. The ceremony unfolded like a surreal dream or a quiet nightmare for me. I stood stiffly, beside Mary Ann in the front row, hyper-aware of Lawrence Palmer standing up at the altar. The vows, the rings, the kiss. I clapped on cue, hands moving while my mind worked through other matters. At the reception, I floated from guest to guest, all smiles and polite conversation, but I never stopped watching. Mary Ann laughed louder than usual, drank too much champagne and kept sneaking glances at Lawrence, who never strayed too far from her line of sight, though he acted discreet. During dinner, I pulled the photographer aside. I want copies of every photo, unedited, as soon as the event ends. The tone must have tipped him off, because he nodded fast. Of course, Mr. Lockhart. I'll send the raw files tonight. Throughout the evening, I noticed Blake acting twitchy around Lawrence. Their interactions were too familiar, too guarded. My son knew something. Maybe he helped cover it up. Another betrayal I'd need to address. When Zoe and Damon drove off through the rose-petal send-off, I stood beside Marianne, waving, her arm linked with mine like the perfect couple. As soon as the car vanished, I stepped away from her. "I have a surprise for you," I murmured in her ear. "Something to make tonight special." She looked up, confused by the warmth in my voice. "Oh, what is it?" I smiled, but it was a cold, calculated smile. "You'll see when we get home. I've been planning it for a while." As we said our final goodbyes, I caught Lawrence staring. Again, eyes burning when they landed on Marianne. I walked right up to him and offered my hand. "Lawrence, I really appreciate everything you've done for the family." I gripped his hand tightly, slipping something into it as we shook. Just a little something to say thank you. He looked down, then went pale when he saw the platinum wedding band, engraved with a truth he couldn't deny. His eyes shot up. "This isn't," he began. "We'll talk soon," I said calmly, cutting him off. "Very soon." I turned back to Marianne as she chatted with Damon's parents, feeling that same clear, focused drive that always surfaced before a major play. The board was set. The real game had started. Chapter 4. Smoke and Mirrors. The drive home was quiet. The air between us in the back seat was loaded. Marianne tried making small talk about the wedding, but I answered with short, clipped replies, until she gave up. She turned toward the window, messing with her purse, glancing at me now and then, looking for answers I had no interest in giving. "Did you have a good time today?" Victor finally asked as they turned onto their street, his tone light but pointed. Of course, Marianne answered too quickly. It was lovely, everything Zoe ever wanted. Victor nodded slowly, and Lawrence handled everything beautifully, wouldn't you agree? The way her shoulders tensed was subtle, but he noticed, I suppose. Yes, he was very involved. The Wilsons are fortunate to have him around. Victor offered a thin smile. Absolutely. Such commitment. As they pulled into the roundabout driveway, Victor thanked their driver and helped Marianne out, steadying her when her heel caught the gravel. "Watch your step," he said softly, keeping a firm hand on her arm. "Wouldn't want you taking a spill." Inside, the house was quiet. The staff had already gone for the night. Victor loosened his tie while Marianne sighed and kicked off her heels. "I'm beat," she said. "Think I'll head up." "Actually," Victor said evenly, "I thought we might share a drink. A toast to our daughter's big day." Marianne paused, then nodded. "Just one." In his study, Victor poured himself a couple fingers of aged Macallan and poured Marianne a glass of white. He passed her the crystal stemware, watching her sip it carefully. "To fresh starts," he said, holding her gaze. She swallowed. "Fresh starts." Victor eased into his leather chair and motioned for her to sit across from him. "I've been thinking about the road ahead now that both kids are out of the house." Marianne crossed her legs, her champagne gown catching the warm light. "Maybe it is time for something different. A trip somewhere. I remember you always wanted to see the Cayman Islands." Her wineglass wobbled a bit. "The Caymans, or Mexico," Victor added smoothly. "Gorgeous coastlines. Ideal spot for a clean break." Marianne gently placed her glass down. "Victor, what is this?" He leaned in, elbows on his knees. "You know what this is." The pause between them pulled tight like a wire. "I don't," she started. "Don't." Victor's voice cut through, sharper now. "Don't lie to me, Marianne. Not after 28 years. Her face went pale, but she lifted her chin. "You looked in the garage." "I did. Who told you?" Victor shrugged. "Is that important?" "The real question is how long you've been getting ready to leave me. For Lawrence Palmer." Marianne stood fast, moving toward the window. "It's not what you think." "Really?" Victor let out a cold laugh. "The forged passport, the offshore funds, the hotel stays going back months, the new wedding band." He knocked back his scotch. "Seems pretty clear to me." She turned toward him, face firm. "You don't get it. Then explain it to me." He pushed back. "Then explain why, after nearly 30 years of marriage, my wife is getting ready to vanish with someone else. Explain the hidden account with $2 million. I'm guessing that's from what we built together. Explain why our own son seems tangled in all of this. Leave Blake out of this," she snapped. "So he does know." Victor gave a slow nod. "What did you promise him, Marianne? A share if he helped you sneak off? Did you really use our son to stand watch while you stepped out on me?" "It wasn't like that. Then what was it exactly? Victor's tone stayed level, steady, even as rage churned inside. Marianne sank into the chair behind her, suddenly looking every bit of her 51 years. I was going to tell you after the wedding. How thoughtful. Lawrence and I, it just happened. We reconnected while planning the wedding and things evolved. Victor's expression didn't budge, evolved into fake IDs and secret money stashes. She at least looked guilty. That part was his idea, for safety. Safety from what, me? Victor was on his feet now, towering above her. Have I ever made you afraid of me, Marianne? Not once in all these years? No, she said, barely audible, but Lawrence said. Victor echoed, cold. Naturally. And you trusted his word, more than your husband's. Marianne's eyes flared. Maybe because he actually pays attention. To me, Victor. When was the last time you were really there? No phone, no work, no strategy. Lawrence listens. He cares how I feel, asks about my life, my dreams. When did you stop giving a damn about that? Victor took the hit without blinking. And that excuses the betrayal? Using Zoe's wedding as cover for your escape plan, she shot back. The money isn't stolen, it's from my mom's inheritance. I never merged it with our joint funds. A loophole. Victor brushed it aside. And Blake? Marianne's shoulders dropped. He saw some messages on my phone by accident, got mad, said he'd tell you. I talked him into waiting until after the wedding. For Zoe. How noble of you. Victor's voice sliced through. So what now? Marianne asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Victor looked at her, this woman he once loved, now a stranger sitting in his home, wearing the jewels he gave her while plotting to walk out. Then it all became clear. Nothing, he said. Her face shifted. Nothing. You want Lawrence? Then go. Victor turned, poured another whiskey. I won't fight the divorce. Take your inheritance. Take whatever's yours. I'll have the paperwork ready tomorrow. She stared at him, clearly stunned by his calm. That's it? You're just letting this happen? What else is there? He rolled the glass gently in his hand. You chose, I accept it. She rose slowly, torn between doubt and relief. I don't get it. There's nothing to get. We drifted. It happens. Victor gave a quiet, bittersweet smile. I've only ever wanted you to be happy, Marianne. That's always been true. Her eyes filled with tears. I never meant to hurt you. No? He gestured toward the door. It's late. Get some sleep. We'll talk details tomorrow. After she left, I stayed in the study alone for a while, my calm expression hiding the freezing rage growing inside me. I reached for my phone and texted Russell. Begin Phase 1. His reply came fast. Surveillance in place for all targets. Standing. I got up and walked to the window, staring out at the perfectly maintained estate I had built for a family that had just fallen apart. My reflection met my gaze, eyes hard with determination. They thought they had me figured out. Marianne, Lawrence, even Blake. They assumed I'd lash out, make threats, beg, or fall apart. They were terribly wrong. I don't fight where people can see. I wage quiet wars, the kind no one notices until it's far too late. My phone buzzed. It was the same unknown number that tipped me off about the garage. What's your next move, Mr. Lockhart? I typed back. Who is this? The response came quick. An interested party. Someone who wants justice. I paused, then asked, why help me? Let's just say Lawrence Palmer and I have unfinished business. Maybe we can help each other. A slow, dangerous grin crossed my face as I replied, I'm listening. Chapter 5. The Architect of Pain. At 7 a.m. sharp, my private line rang. Good morning, Mr. Lockhart. We haven't officially met. I'm Vanessa Reeves. The voice was poised, commanding, someone used to being in charge. So you're the one behind the messages, I said, setting my coffee down. What made you finally? Call Miss Reeves? I believe we have a mutual enemy and we're running out of time. Lawrence and your wife are planning to leave the country in 3 days. First stop Bermuda, then the Cayman Islands. My grip tightened. And how do you know this? Because I was supposed to be in your wife's place until Lawrence saw a better opportunity. My interest spiked. I leaned back in the chair. Go on, I met Lawrence 5 years ago. We got engaged after a year, started planning a future. Then he met your wife at some charity gala, found out about her separate inheritance, and suddenly he started pulling away. 3 months later, it was over. That's rough, I said. But she cut in. I'm not done. After he left, I hired a PI. Turns out I wasn't his first mark. He's pulled this con before, 3 times that I could verify. He targets rich, often married women, spends months or years building trust. Then he gets them to cash out and he vanishes. I listened, matching what she said with what I already suspected. You've got enough evidence to be sure, but not enough for law enforcement to act. Lawrence plays it smart, multiple aliases, operates across state lines. By the time his victims figure it out, he's long gone. And you waited until my daughter's wedding to tell me this? Victor's voice turned sharp. I only confirmed Lawrence's plan after I hacked his calendar and found his travel itinerary. I didn't realize until recently that your wife was his newest target. A pause. I'm sorry. About the timing. Victor's thoughts spun. Strategies, outcomes, leverage. What do you want from me, Miss Reeves? Justice, payback. Call it whatever suits you. Her tone turned steely. Lawrence stole 2 years of my life and drained nearly $1 million I'd set aside for my future. I want him taken out of the game for good. By that you mean? I'll let you decide how, Mr. Lockhart. I know your background. You didn't build your empire by forgiving people who betrayed you. Victor allowed a small smirk. You've clearly done your research. Lawrence hasn't crossed anyone with your kind of reach, or mine. Hard to ignore an opening like that. And what exactly are you bringing to this team-up, beyond intel, access, records? There's one thing I bet you'll want most. Lawrence's real identity. That got Victor's attention. Go ahead. His birth name is Lawrence Petro. Russian-born, came to the US as a teen, ties to organized crime in Brighton Beach. Everything about Lawrence Palmer is a crafted disguise. Fascinating. Victor drummed his fingers on the table. Miss Reeves, we should meet. Today. I thought you'd say that. There's a private room waiting at the Cardinal downtown. Noon. Come alone. Then the line cut. Victor rang Russell and told him to gather every detail on Vanessa Reeves and Lawrence Petro. Then he texted Neil to wipe his afternoon clean. Upstairs he heard Marion moving, probably packing. He meant what he said about not fighting the divorce. It would be too public, too sloppy. Victor believed in clean strikes, especially when it came to revenge. At 11:45, Victor stepped into the Cardinal, a discreet members-only spot in the heart of the financial district. The concierge brought him to a quiet dining room, where a sharp-looking woman in her mid-40s was already seated. Vanessa Reeves had that effortless, inherited kind of grace. Chestnut bob, understated jewelry, a tailored navy suit that hinted at wealth without flaunting it. Mr. Lockhart, she said, offering her hand. Appreciate you meeting me, Miss Reeves. Victor gripped her hand with confidence. You said you had something for me. She motioned to the chair across from hers. Straight to the point, I like that. Once they settled in with drinks, sparkling water. For him, gin and tonic for her. Vanessa slid open a slim folder. Lawrence Petrov, born Lavendy Petrov in St. Petersburg, 1970. He came to the US in 1987 with his mom after losing his dad. He graduated from NYU, bounced between finance firms, always managing to leave just before any compliance trouble caught up with him. In 2010, he launched a relationship consulting business, really just an upscale matchmaking gig that gave him a doorway into the lives of wealthy, emotionally exposed women. She pushed a stack of papers across the table. Immigration files, dated news articles, financial data. Victor looked them over, focused. His pattern's clear, Vanessa said. He works his way into high-end social groups, watches for women with serious money, assets kept outside of joint accounts, and starts the long play. He's in no rush, sometimes biding his time for years. He met my wife through the Wilsons 3 years ago. At first, just networking, but everything changed after she mentioned her late mother's estate during a charity event last year. Victor's face tightened as he nodded. Marianne had inherited close to $3 million, kept separate from their shared finances, on Victor's own advice, ironically, to protect it from possible business fallout. The offshore account, that was classic Lawrence, Cayman Islands. Once it lands there, good luck getting it back. Victor sat back and watched Vanessa closely. What exactly did he take from you? Her jaw set. Aside from my dignity, seed money for our business, a wellness retreat in Baez that didn't even exist. By the time I realized the property records were fake, he'd vanished. Authorities called it a civil matter. Just another bad investment, not criminal fraud. Lawrence knew how to work the legal gaps. Vanessa's grip on her glass tightened. He also had material on me, personal stuff. Enough to make pressing charges risky. Victor nodded again. Blackmail. Classic con artist tactic. Why didn't you warn my wife? He asked. I tried, she said quietly. Anonymous notes, messages. She blocked me. Vanessa let out a bitter smile. Lawrence knows how to isolate people. He makes them tune out everyone else. For the next hour, they pulled apart Lawrence's game, his methods, weak points, how he probably slipped away. Victor couldn't help but respect how sharp Vanessa was. She'd done her homework on the man who once posed as her fiancé. One last thing, she said before they parted. Lawrence has a partner, someone who handles logistics, fakes documents, moves money. He kept the name from me, but it's someone with real access, someone who knows the system from the inside. A name would be useful, Victor said, voice dry. I don't have a name yet, but whoever they are, they're critical to his setup. She shut her folder. So, Mr. Lockhart, now that you know what you're facing, what's the move? Victor gave a faint smile. I believe in proportionate payback, Ms. Reeves. Lawrence tried to steal my wife, my money, and my pride. I plan to take everything from him, right down to his freedom. And that's just step one. Victor rose, fastening his jacket. He's going to lose his name, his wealth, his future, and yes, his liberty. By the time I'm done, Lawrence Petrov won't have anything left, not even a shadow of who he was. Vanessa watched him for a beat, then gave a small nod. I think you'll pull off what I couldn't. She extended her hand once more. Keep me updated. I've been waiting a long time for this. You'll know when it's over, Victor assured her, gripping her hand. And Ms. Reeves, thank you for the heads up yesterday. It opened my eyes. Back in his car, Victor called Russell. I want everything on Lawrence Petro, formerly out of St. Petersburg. Zero in on Brighton Beach ties, shady finances, and find out who handles his tech, and track down my son. We need to talk. Next, he rang Simon Weiss, his lawyer, sharp, creative, and ethically flexible. Simon, I need asset recovery setups offshore, Cayman Islands, and draft divorce papers. Keep it clean, no drama, trouble on the home front, Simon asked. Let's just say it's a strategic reset. Victor hung up as the car stopped at his downtown office. Inside, he opened a hidden safe behind a landscape painting and pulled out a small black notebook, his personal insurance file. Over the years in security, he'd collected secrets on powerful people. He'd never used them until now. Flipping through the pages, he felt nothing but clarity. A knock on the door. Sir, your son's here. Send him in. Blake walked in, tense and stiff. Dad, you wanted to see me. Take a seat, Blake. Victor motioned to the chair across the desk. Let's talk about Lawrence Palmer. Or should I say, Petrov. Blake's face went pale. How did you find out you were helping him siphon our family's funds? That you brought him into your mother's financial circle? That you've been lying straight to me for months? Victor's voice was cold and even. I know it all, son. Blake sank into the chair. Dad, I can explain. Then go ahead. Victor leaned back, fingers pressed together. I'm especially curious what you think could possibly excuse betraying your own father. As Blake started to explain, stumbling through his words, Victor's plan for revenge came into sharp, terrifying focus. Chapter 6, Pawns and Players. He said he was in love with her, Blake said, eyes downcast. He told me you were controlling, that Mum was miserable. Lawrence said he could give her a new start, help her feel free. Victor looked at his son without emotion. And you believed him. I just wanted Mom to be happy, Blake argued. You're never around. always working. Lawrence actually listened to her, to me. He made us feel like we mattered. Mattered enough to betray your family, Victor said, to help a grifter target your mother. Blake looked up sharply. What are you talking about? Lawrence, here's an investment banker. Lawrence Petrov is a career con artist, Victor said flatly, pushing a file labeled Vanessa across the desk. He's done this before. Finds wealthy women, wins their trust, convinces them to cash out, then vanishes with the money. Blake flipped through the file, his face draining of color. This can't be true. It is. Your mother isn't his partner, she's his victim, and you, son, have unknowingly helped him, played right into his hands. The truth landed on Blake like a punch to the gut. He grabbed the edge of the desk, stunned. Dad, I swear I didn't know. Of course you didn't, Victor replied, his voice softening. You were manipulated by someone who's made a career of it, but that doesn't excuse what you did. So, what happens now? Blake asked, voice barely above a whisper. Victor considered him. That depends. Are you ready to make it right? Anything, Blake said instantly. Just tell me what to do. You're going to help me take down Lawrence Petrov, Victor said, leaning in. But first I need every detail. Every chat, every file, every bank login you handed over. For the next hour, Blake broke everything down. How Lawrence had earned his trust months earlier, pretending to be a mentor. How he'd eased Blake into sharing private info, all under the pretense of helping his mum. How he introduced them to financial contacts, even helped set up an offshore account, believing it was for love, not fraud. He mentioned a tech partner, Victor said thoughtfully. Someone managing his online traces. Blake nodded. A woman named Sophia. Never met her. He called her his digital wizard, said she could cover any trail. Her name's... She'll start, Victor muttered, writing it down. What about the getaway plan? They're leaving Tuesday. Private jet to Bermuda, then yacht to the Caymans, Blake said quietly. I was supposed to send the final wire that morning. Victor gave a cold smile. And you still will. But the plans are shifting. Dad, I'm really sorry. Save it. Victor held up his hand. You can show me you're sorry by following my instructions exactly. First, reach out to Lawrence. Tell him you're concerned. Say you think the timeline should move up. Push for Monday instead of Tuesday. He won't change his flight. He will if you tell him I've called for an emergency audit of your mother's. Financials Tuesday morning. Blake nodded, taking it in. What else? Act like everything's normal around your mom. Don't let her suspect we've spoken. As far as she knows, I've accepted the divorce and I'm moving forward. And have you accepted it? Victor's jaw tightened. The divorce doesn't matter, the betrayal does, and I won't forget it. Blake shrank at his father's cold certainty. Go home. Call Lawrence. Get back to me with his reply. Victor turned to his computer, signaling the conversation was over. Blake got up to go, but paused. Dad, what about Mum? If Lawrence is just playing her... She made her decision. Victor didn't even glance up. Now she lives with it. Once Blake was gone, Victor opened a secure channel to Russell. I need a digital sweep on someone named Sophia, no last name. She's connected to Lawrence Petro. Background in finance, possibly involved in identity fabrication. Anything else? Russell asked. Yeah, get me everything on Lawrence Petrov. Every bank account, transaction, message, everything. Also, prep the lake house. We'll need it ready Monday. The lake house was a secluded property Victor kept off the books. Officially a business retreat. Unofficially a lockdown site for high-stakes talks, or when necessary, interrogations. Russell didn't ask questions. He just said, We're on it. Victor's next call was to Simon Weiss. Simon, change your plans. Don't process the divorce papers yet. I need to set up an asset protection trust in the Caymans. Strong as steel and done before the divorce is filed. That's risky, Victor, Simon warned. A judge could call it hiding assets. That's what I'm counting on. Make it look findable. Just enough to raise suspicion. Hidden enough to seem like I'm trying to stash cash from Mary Ann. A trap. Simon got it. I'll have it by morning. And Simon, this call never happened. Later that night, Russell sent Victor a secured file to his private server. Everything was lining up. Sophia Petro, Lawrence's younger sister, wasn't listed in his immigration file. A cybersecurity expert who'd handled systems for several top-tier banks before shifting to freelance work 3 years back. The digital muscle behind Lawrence's slick-talking hustle. Victor sent the full profile to Blake with a note to drop Sophia's name into casual conversation with Lawrence. A quiet nudge to let him know Victor was tracking deeper than he let on. Back home, I kept up the act of quiet surrender. Marion and I moved past each other like forgotten echoes, stuck in that civil but cold rhythm of people who used to mean something. She didn't expect the calm, probably thought I'd yell or beg, but her confusion only deepened when I said I'd be gone a few days for work, told her it might make things easier. That night, I locked myself in the study and sketched out the entire plan on a secure tablet, each move, every risk, all the tools I'd need. When it was ready, I encrypted the file and fired it off to Russell under the title Scorched Earth. His reply came fast. Everything's in place. Say the word. I poured one last glass of whiskey, eyeing the battlefield in my head. Lawrence and Marianne making their play. Blake, the hesitant informant. Sophia, the wild card. Vanessa, the avenger. They were all dancing to a rhythm I'd written. None of them knew the parts they were playing in the collapse I'd architected. Then the message came through from Blake. Monday it is. Elle's anxious but signed off. We're locking it all in tomorrow. I smiled at my drink. The first domino had tipped. Within days, Lawrence Petrov would understand the cost of crossing Victor Lockhart's bloodline. I wasn't going to shout. I wasn't going to strike. That's not my style. This would be a clean, calculated destruction. Piece by perfect piece. The board was set. I don't lose. Chapter 7. Judgment Day. Monday rolled in. Sun up. Skies clear. Nature didn't care about revenge. I'd barely slept. 3 days of detail-forged preparation were about to come to life. Everything was set. Every backup plan accounted for, every person placed with care. At exactly 6 a.m. my phone buzzed. Blake's confirmation. L and M were meeting at the Four Seasons at 10 a.m. final checks before the 2 p.m. flight. Lawrence had reserved the same suite he once used for his secret meetings with Marianne. I found that both obvious and convenient. I texted him back, "Remember your part. No deviations." Since our last face-off in my office, Blake had been shockingly reliable, sticking to my directions exactly. The kid had talent, something I might have respected under different circumstances. Now he was just another tool in my kit. Marion hadn't come home last night. She said she was staying at a hotel to make things simpler. I replied with kind words and well wishes. My calm response rattled her more than any outburst would have. At 7:30, my secure phone rang. It was Russell, final confirmation. Everything was ready. Financial levers in place. Digital trail locked in, eyes on every target. "And our friends?" I asked. "In position and ready." Those friends were my ace. Federal agents in financial crime and counterterrorism, cultivated over years, not involved officially, of course. This would just be a quiet tip-off sent through discreet channels. They'd wait for my go, but once I gave it, they'd have all they needed. Good. Stay back until I say. At 8:45 a.m. sharp, I walked out of my house dressed in a charcoal suit, classic, commanding, but not flashy. My driver didn't head to the office. Instead, we drove to the Cardinal. Vanessa Reeves was already there, seated in the same private room. "It's today," I told her straight. "You ready?" She nodded, poised in a burgundy dress that signaled business over revenge. "The papers are done, my statement's ready. Once this starts, there's no turning back," I warned. "Lawrence will know you're part of this." Her grin was icy. "I'm counting on that." I studied her closely. "This isn't just about money for you, is it?" "Is it for you?" she shot back. Truth was, the moment they crossed us, this had stopped being about numbers. He gave a slight nod in response. 10 minutes after I'm gone, make the call just like we planned." "And Blake?" she asked. "What happens to him?" Victor's face stayed unreadable. "My son made his decision. Now he deals with the fallout." At 9:30, Victor settled into a suite at the Four Seasons, one floor above where Lawrence and Marianne were about to meet. Russell's crew had already set up surveillance, giving Victor full audio and visual access to everything happening below. At 9:55, Lawrence walked in, sharp in a tailored Italian suit, briefcase in hand. The cameras tracked his smooth, confident walk, the fake charm in his voice as he greeted the staff, a man completely unaware that his perfect little world was seconds from collapse. At 10:02, Marianne showed up. She looked anxious but resolved, wearing a plain black dress and dragging a small suitcase. Lawrence hugged her and whispered something to calm her down. Victor watched, unmoved, as the man kissed his own wife like it was just another day. "Is everything ready?" she asked, her voice clear on the feed. "Almost," Lawrence said. "Blake's finishing the last transfer. We'll have new IDs by tonight. He'll never find us." "Victor suspects nothing," Marianne said. "He's being weirdly cooperative. It's kind of a letdown." Lawrence chuckled. "Victor Lockhart, the security mastermind, totally played in his own house. Did you get the files?" Marianne pulled a flash drive from her purse. "All of it. Client data, security layouts, code access. You sure we need this?" "Just in case. Your friends have influence. My husband has power." Victor sat silently as Lawrence slipped the drive into his pocket, his company's secrets, now part of a list of federal crimes. At 10:15, Blake walked in, right on time. He looked nervous, clutching his laptop. "Did you do it?" Lawrence asked sharply. "Yes," Blake said. "The money's moving. $3 million from Mum's account into the Bermuda transit, then it's off to the Cayman shell." Lawrence glanced at his phone and gave a satisfied nod. "Perfect. You've done well, Blake?" Marianne hugged her son. "Thank you, sweetheart. I know this hasn't been easy." "There's more," Blake said, sticking exactly to Victor's plan. "I think Dad's hiding something. I overheard him mention Sophia on the phone yesterday." Lawrence froze. "Sophia, you're sure?" "Positive, and something about Brighton Beach." Lawrence started pacing. "He knows we're closing in. Blake, call the pilot, tell him we're moving the flight up to noon." "Already taken care of," Blake replied. "But Dad set up a separate Cayman trust. I found the documents this morning. He's stashing money before the divorce." The fake detail, the trust Victor had Simon forge, hit its target. Lawrence's face changed from concern to sharp calculation. "How much? At least 10 million, maybe more." Lawrence turned to Marianne. "Can you get into it?" She hesitated. "Possibly. I still know his passwords." "Then do it," Lawrence pressed. "Think of it as payback for all the years you were overlooked." Victor allowed himself a cold grin as Marianne used Blake's laptop to access the joint account. She was falling into place exactly as planned. At 10:30, right on cue, a hotel employee knocked at their door. "Mr. Palmer, there's an urgent call for you at the front desk. They say it's your sister." Lawrence stiffened. "I'll be right there." To Marianne and Blake, "Keep working on the transfers. I'll be back in 5 minutes." As soon as he left, Blake turned to his mom, real pain in his voice. "Mom, I need to tell you something." "Not now, Blake," she said, eyes still on the screen. "We need to finish before your dad catches on." "But Mom, Lawrence isn't who you think he is," I said. "Not now," she snapped. "I've made up my mind." Blake went quiet, watching her move money from accounts she had no right to touch. Just as Victor predicted, every move she made was being recorded, a clean trail of attempted fraud. Meanwhile, down at the desk, Lawrence realized there was no call. Just another setup from Victor's playbook. As he turned to head back, he came face to face with Vanessa Reeves. "Hello, Lawrence," she said, calm and steady. Or should I say lie? And the color vanished from his face. "Vanessa, what are you doing here?" Watching justice unfold, she replied with a thin smile. "Did you really think I wouldn't catch up with you someday?" Lawrence regained his composure fast, masking himself again with that smooth charm. "This is just a mix-up. We should talk somewhere private." "Oh, we're way beyond talking." Vanessa checked the time on her watch. "Actually, we're right on cue." Lawrence's phone buzzed, his expression tightening as he read a message from Sophia. "Emergency. Accounts are locked. Reversals processed. Get out now." Without another word to Vanessa, he bolted toward the elevator. But when he hit the 8th floor, 2 men in tailored suits stood outside his hotel room. In the monitoring suite, Victor observed it all unfolding exactly to plan. The men weren't feds, they were Russell's private security. The real agents would come later. Their job? Stall Lawrence long enough to shake him. Lawrence ducked into the stairwell, trying to call Mary Ann. But Victor had already triggered the signal jammer for that floor. No calls, no messages, just dead air. Inside the suite, Mary Ann was getting irritated. Something's off. The transfers keep bouncing. "Mom," Blake spoke again. "Please stop, this isn't right." "Don't preach to me about right and wrong," she snapped. "I've given up everything for this family. It's finally my turn." "So you're stealing from Dad? Running off with a con man?" Her eyes snapped up. "What? Are you saying, Lawrence? He's scammed people before, Mom. He's playing you. He wants your money. That's insane. Lawrence cares about me, just like he cared about Vanessa Reeves, and the ones before her." Mary Ann froze. "What do you mean, others? Who's Vanessa Reeves?" "She was his last mark before you." Blake opened the folder Victor had given him and laid it in front of her. "It's all here. His real name is Lawrence Petro. He's a pro-con artist. And I helped him target you." As Mary Ann read, disbelief turned to shock and then sheer horror. At that moment, Victor stepped out of the surveillance room and into the elevator, his timing flawless. Lawrence, having looped back through another exit, crashed into the suite just as Mary Ann looked up from the folder, her eyes filled with tears. "We need to leave. Now," Lawrence said, gripping her arm. It got messy. "Let go of me," Mary Ann whispered, pulling away. "Is it true? Are you? Really, Petrov? Were there others?" Lawrence threw Blake a look full of pure hate. "What did you do?" she asked. "Told her the truth," Blake said, not budging. "Something I should have said months ago." "Lawrence," Mary pushed, "just tell me. Is it true?" Before he could speak, the door opened again and in came Victor. Calm, composed, dressed sharp like always. "I believe the phrase is confidence man," Victor said casually. "Though frankly, Petro, that gives you more credit than you deserve. A real man with confidence doesn't scam women." Lawrence's hand drifted toward his jacket, but Victor didn't flinch. "Don't. My guys outside won't take that lightly." For a moment, no one moved. Victor near the door, Lawrence next to Mary Ann, and Blake standing close to his mom. "How long have you known?" Lawrence asked. "Long enough to make sure everything you built collapses," Victor said, a thin smile on his face. "Your offshore accounts are locked. Every financial system worth a damn has flagged your alias, Lawrence Palmer. And your sister Sophia? Right now she's answering federal questions about her part in all this." Lawrence's calm cracked. "You can't prove any of it." "Actually," Victor said, nodding at the laptop, "I can. Every phony transfer, every message to my wife, every forged doc. And best of all," he held up his phone, a video playing, "your confession right here in this room, explaining how this isn't even your first time." He looked at Mary Ann, face hard. "You made a bad call, not just falling for him, but thinking I'd let someone take what's mine without a fight." Mary Ann stared, her plans falling apart in real time. "Victor, I didn't know." "Don't," he cut her off. "Blake, come here." His son walked over, eyes down. "You earned back a little today," Victor said low. "But trust is hard to fix once it's broken." Blake gave a quiet nod. Then Victor turned to Lawrence. "You've got two options. Walk downstairs to the agents waiting for my signal, or deal with me. Your call." Lawrence looked around, still trying to think his way out. "This isn't finished, Lockhart." "It ended the second you came after my family," Victor said. Then he checked his watch. "You're out of time. Which one will it be?" Before Lawrence could reply, a knock came from the hotel room door. "Mr. Palmer, federal agents are here to speak with you," said hotel security. Lawrence let out a heavy breath, his posture collapsing under the weight of what was coming. The agents entered and started reading him his rights. Victor stood by, his expression unreadable. Lawrence's world fell apart in an instant. His assets gone, his identity shattered, and any freedom he had left gone. The list of charges: wire fraud, identity theft, conspiracy, and thanks to the flash drive Victor had secured, corporate espionage. Mary Ann stood like a statue, watching everything she'd bet on unravel right before her. "Victor," she whispered. What happens now? He looked at the woman he'd spent 28 years with. Once she meant everything. Now she was part of the fallout. His voice was cold, flat. Now you live with your choices, Marianne, just like I'll live with mine. As Lawrence was escorted out in cuffs, Victor turned his back and left, leaving Marianne and Blake alone, in the debris of their decisions. Phase 1 of his revenge was done, but he wasn't close to finished. Chapter 8. Scorched Earth. 3 weeks after Lawrence's arrest, Victor was in his home office going over updates. The case had grown fast. Feds uncovered more victims and cons going back 10 years. Sophia, Lawrence's sister, had flipped, trading her testimony for a lighter sentence. Offshore accounts were frozen, the money locked up as evidence. But Victor wasn't in this for courtroom justice. He'd used his network to crush Lawrence's reputation everywhere it counted. Anonymous leaks to financial reporters brought damning stories to light. Victims, seeing the fall, stepped forward. The well-known Wilson family, ashamed of the role they'd played in welcoming Lawrence into their circle, cut all ties and made a public statement. Lawrence Petrov was ruined. His finances gone, his name dragged through the mud, his future behind bars in multiple states. It was satisfying, but just the first strike. Victor's private phone buzzed. Simon Weiss. The divorce documents are finalized. As agreed, Marianne keeps the lake house, her accounts, and a fair but limited settlement. The others are drafted too. You sure about this, Victor? It's harsher than most. Absolutely sure. Victor's tone didn't leave space for disagreement. Send the message to the Addison Hotel, room 542. That's her current location. After hanging up, Victor went over the agreement once more. The divorce documents looked fair, at first glance, but the attached files revealed the real agenda. Victor had methodically erased Marianne from every piece of the life they'd built together, removed her from every charitable board, revoked her social memberships, cut off access to their vacation homes. He'd even reached out to their mutual friends to make sure she'd be quietly pushed out of future gatherings. Nothing illegal, not even particularly cruel in the usual sense. Just a clean removal, precise, total, and unapologetic. A buzz from Blake lit up Victor's phone. Can we talk, please? He hadn't spoken much to his son since the Four Seasons incident. Blake had moved out, crashing with friends while finishing business school remotely. Victor hadn't shut off financial support. It didn't serve the bigger picture, but had made it plain. Trust was gone. My office, 3 p.m. tomorrow, Victor typed back, setting his phone down. The doorbell chimed. On the camera, Vanessa Reeves stood poised in a crisp pantsuit. He buzzed her in. I hope I'm not interrupting, she said as she stepped inside his office. I wanted to give this to you personally. She handed him a heavy envelope. Inside, a sworn statement she'd submitted to the DA, outlining her dealings with Lawrence and the evidence she'd collected herself. They added 3 more charges because of your report, Victor said as he read. It's a small win, but I'll take it. She sat across from him. And thank you. Your method worked better than I imagined. He nodded once. Our objectives aligned. And your wife, if you don't mind, ex-wife soon enough. Victor didn't flinch. Marianne chose her side. Vanessa looked at him carefully. When I first looked into you before we partnered, I expected someone different. Your business profile painted a man who was reactive, maybe more emotional. Human, she said. But this, what you did to Lawrence, flawless, no missteps, no emotion. It's almost mechanical, Victor offered. Frightening, she said. Impressive, but frightening. Victor gave a small smile. That's what it takes to handle betrayal. Feelings blur the lines. And forgiveness? She asked, watching him closely. Your son seems truly regretful. Forgiveness isn't something I offer lightly. Victor set the envelope down on his desk. Blake chose to betray this family, and that choice will haunt him no matter what kind of relationship we manage to rebuild. And Marianne? There's nothing left to rebuild. Vanessa gave a slow nod. Well, my part in all this is done. Lawrence won't hurt another woman again. Thanks to you, mostly. She stood and extended her hand. It's been enlightening, Mr. Lockhart. Victor took her hand. "Indeed, Ms. Reeves. Maybe next time we meet, the circumstances will be kinder." Once she was gone, Victor returned to his desk and opened a locked file on his computer. Operation Scorched Earth wasn't finished yet. Lawrence Petrov's fall was certain. Marianne was almost completely removed from his life, but there was still one final piece to ensure neither of them could ever undo the damage. The next afternoon, Blake showed up at exactly 3 p.m., looking worn but steady. Victor motioned to the chair across from him. "You wanted this meeting? Go ahead." Blake straightened up. "I got a job offer from Meridian Capital, junior analyst. I wanted to make sure you wouldn't try to block it." Meridian Capital was a key rival of one of Victor's biggest accounts. That move said Blake was trying to stand on his own. "Why would I stand in your way? Your career is your problem now." Victor's tone was flat. "Because you have influence. One call from you could ruin it before I even start. Is that how you see me, that I'd tank your career just to get back at you?" Blake looked straight at his dad. "I honestly don't know anymore. You've changed. Or maybe this is who you've always been and I just never saw it." Funny coming from the guy who turned his back on his own father. "I said I was sorry. I've done what I could to make it right. I helped you bring down Lawrence. What else do you want?" Victor leaned back, eyes on his son. "Nothing, Blake. I want nothing from you. That's the point. From now on, we'll be polite, distant, strictly business. You made your decision when you chose your mom and Lawrence. That's not what happened. I was played. No, you were weak." Victor cut in sharply. "You let Lawrence stroke your ego and make you feel like you mattered. You picked his flattery over your family. Choices have consequences. This is yours." Blake's face burned. "So that's it. No way back. Redemption's a nice idea, but it belongs in sermons, not real life." Victor pushed a folder toward him. "I've restructured your trust. It's all in here. You'll get quarterly payments. Enough to live fine, not lavish. The principal stays locked until you hit 40. I don't care about the money. You should. It's your inheritance, your history. The only piece of us that's still intact." Blake looked at his father, the truth finally settling in. "You've already cut me out, haven't you? Just like Mum, clean break. No strings left behind." Victor didn't argue. "Take the offer at Meridian. Build your path. Live your own life. But hear me clearly. Trust, once it's broken, it's never fully whole again, not for me. And Zoe, has she been told?" Victor's jaw tightened just slightly, the first fracture in his calm exterior. "Your sister's coming back from her honeymoon next week. She'll be told in due time." "You mean you'll spin your side of the story?" Blake pushed. "Make sure she picks your version. I'll tell her the truth. That Mom intended to walk away from us, that you helped her do it, and that I did what needed to be done." Blake stood, holding his pride together. "You got what you wanted, Dad. Lawrence is ruined, Mom's a wreck, and I'm—" He motioned vaguely. "Whatever this is." "But what did it cost? You're alone now." "I've always been alone, Blake. The only difference is now I'm clear-eyed about what family really means." Victor turned back to his computer, a silent dismissal. "Go take the Meridian job. You'll thrive there." After Blake left, Victor sat still for several long moments, face unreadable. Then he picked up the phone and called Russell. "Phase 3 is ready. Begin tomorrow." This final move would target everything Lawrence Petrov still held, assets under hidden names, investments tucked away through layers, personal ties that might have helped him weather prison. Victor had mapped it all, and now he'd take it down, piece by piece. By the end of the week, Lawrence would be left with nothing. No leverage, no future. Anyone still linked to him would quietly find their careers stalling, their opportunities fading. Marianne's social erasure was already underway. Former friends weren't taking her calls. Non-profits she worked with suddenly no longer needed her. The divorce deal, while financially fair, guaranteed she'd never return to the lifestyle she once knew. Victor had even set up the sale of their main home, cutting off her last tie to the past. The doorbell rang. This time, it was the courier, with the signed divorce papers. Marianne had agreed to the terms without a fight, exactly as Victor expected. The note she included was short. "I know nothing I say matters anymore, but I am sorry. I never intended for things to turn out this way." Victor fed the note into his shredder without saying a word. Talking meant nothing. Only actions carried weight. That night, sitting by himself in his study, Victor allowed himself a single glass of whiskey. It wasn't a toast. It brought him no joy. It was just a nod to a job he'd carried out with precision. His phone lit up with a message from Zoe. Landing tomorrow. So much to tell you about the honeymoon. Can't wait to see you. Dad, love you. Victor stared at the text, something breaking quietly behind the mask he wore so well. Zoe had no idea how her family had collapsed while she was gone. That conversation was waiting for him, unavoidable. He set down his glass, suddenly tired. The vengeance he had carried out with such precision had done exactly what he intended. Lawrence Petrov was finished. Marianne was gone. Blake knew exactly where he stood now. The betrayal had been dealt with accordingly, yet alone in the silence of a house that used to be a home, Victor Lockhart didn't feel proud. There was no relief, no justice. Only the clear, cold truth that he had done what he had to do, what he was made for. He had been wronged, and he struck back, ruthless and final, so that no one would ever dare betray him again. It wasn't happiness. It wasn't peace. It was just the cost of being Victor Lockhart, the kind of man who never forgave, never forgot, and never let betrayal go unpunished. Tomorrow, he would start over, his way. No lies, no softness, no forgiveness. Chapter 9. Ashes and Iron. 6 months after the divorce, Victor stood at the floor-to-ceiling windows of his new penthouse, looking down on the city stretched out beneath him. The view wasn't like the old house, more concrete, less quiet, but it was the change he needed. That place had held too many ghosts, too much past. His phone buzzed again. A message from Russell, confirming what Victor already knew. Lawrence. Petrov's final appeal had been denied. He'd served the full 20-year sentence, no early release. The dismantling of his life was total. Every secret stash revealed, every ally driven away, every exit sealed. Victor felt nothing, no thrill, no regret, just the logical result of a strategy carried out to the letter. The intercom beeped. "Sir, your daughter is here. Send her up." A few minutes later, Zoe stepped in, elegant in a simple black dress that said business, not family. At 27, she'd become even more polished since getting married, handling the family fallout with striking grace. While Blake had fallen apart and Marianne had withdrawn, Zoe had adjusted, managing the turmoil the way Victor himself might have. "Dad," she said, kissing his cheek, her Chanel perfume, same as her mother's, stirring up memories Victor would rather forget. "You look great," Victor said, guiding her to the sitting room with its sweeping views. "How's Damon?" "Swamped. The FDA approval process is taking over his life." She sank into the leather couch. "But we're good. Really good, actually." Victor nodded, glad at least her marriage was steady despite the storm he'd brought on the family, and the expansion of the foundation. She gave a faint smile. "We've launched 2 new community health clinics this quarter. I think you'd appreciate the way we've structured things." The Lockhart-Wilson Health Initiative had been Zoe's brainchild. Since med school, blending her medical training with the Wilson Pharma legacy, backed initially by Victor's funding. One of the few family ties he hadn't cut. "I'm sure I would." Victor poured her favorite green tea. "What brings you here today? Our usual dinner isn't until Thursday." Zoe accepted the cup, her face turning more serious. "Blake called me." Victor's expression didn't change, I figured. "He's having a hard time, Dad. The role at Meridian isn't working. He feels shut out, like no one will touch him, but he can't prove it. Finance is cutthroat." "People fail all the time." Zoe placed her cup down carefully. "That's really your angle? Like you haven't quietly destroyed every lead he's chased?" Victor looked at her evenly. Blake made his choices. He was 24, taken in by a seasoned grifter. The same grifter who conned Mom. Zoe leaned closer. "It's been half a year. When does it stop, this punishment?" "It's not punishment, it's fallout." "No, it's revenge, Dad. Measured, intentional revenge." Victor didn't argue, maybe. Zoe took a long look at the man she'd both admired and feared her whole life. "When it all went down, I was furious. At Mom, at Blake. I even got why you reacted. But this cold war you've launched on your own son, it's not okay. What's right or wrong depends on where you stand. Blake crossed me. In my world, that means it never goes away. Your world seems painfully isolated. Zoe's voice lowered. He's your son, your only son. Biology doesn't earn him my trust. What about love? Does that earn your love? Victor looked out over the city skyline, unwilling to touch the emotion behind her words. What exactly are you expecting from me, Zoe? Speak to him, really speak. Not just hand down judgments. Give him a chance to make things right. And your mother? Are you here asking? I forgive her too. Zoe paused. That's different. What she did was worse. She was preparing to leave and take money that didn't belong to her. Blake was just a kid pulled into it all. A kid who ended up helping scam his own father because he thought Mom was miserable, and Lawrence told him he was helping her escape. Control. Zoe set her mug down with purpose. Don't act like you were some flawless husband or father before everything blew up. Victor arched an eyebrow. Meaning you were always distant, Dad. You were here, but never really here. Mom tried for years to break through to you. Blake spent his whole childhood chasing your approval. I was the only one who figured out how to crack your defenses. And only because I'm just like you. That scares Damon sometimes. Her honesty caught him off guard. Zoe had never spoken to him this directly. You've clearly thought a lot about this, he said flatly. I've had 6 months to watch you tear this family apart with surgical precision. Zoe's eyes, gray like his, met his without flinching. You got your revenge on Lawrence. He's out of the picture. But what you're doing to Blake and Mom, it isn't justice, Dad, it's just cruelty. They turned on me, Victor said coldly, like that explained everything. And you've made them pay. When is it enough? When do you stop being the guy who makes everyone suffer and start being the man who builds something better? Victor turned away, uneasy with where this was going. I didn't know you'd taken up philosophy. Don't dodge the point, answer me. What's the end goal here? A life with no one left in it? The question just sat there between them. Victor walked to the bar and poured himself some whiskey, even though it wasn't yet noon. Blake could have come to me himself. Why send you? Because he's scared of you, Dad. Because every time he tries, you shut him out or throw his mistakes back. In his face, Zoe stood and came to him, and he didn't send me. I came because I'm done watching this family crash in slow motion. I miss my brother. I miss our family, broken as it was. Victor took a slow sip of his whiskey, stalling for time. The truth was, he'd quietly manipulated Blake's career troubles, using his pull to keep opportunities out of reach, not to ruin him entirely, but to drive home the price of disloyalty. Victor wasn't heartless, just deliberate. What do you expect me to do, he asked at last. Give him a real shot. Not at Lockhart Security. I know that's asking too much. But at least stop blocking him. Let him find his own way. And maybe someday talk to him like a dad, not like a CEO disappointed in his underperforming employee. Victor weighed her words, processing them like a high-stakes deal. And Zoe, with a tired shake of her head, replied, There's no bargain here, Dad. No deal. I'm asking you to have some compassion, not for a return, but because it's right. The idea of mercy without leverage, of forgiveness with no reward, felt alien after months spent dealing in revenge. Mercy without advantage. Forgiveness without gain. I'll think about it, he said, offering no promises. Zoe accepted the small gesture with a nod. It's a start. She checked her watch. I've got to run. Board meeting at the foundation. We still on for Thursday dinner? Of course. She kissed his cheek and paused by the door. I get why you went after Lawrence. He had it coming. But Mom and Blake? They messed up, sure, but they're still family. And that should count for something, even to Victor Lockhart. After she left, he didn't move. Her words sat heavy in the air. Family. As if that word alone should cancel betrayal, mute consequences. Hare's phone buzzed. Simon Weiss. The Palmer estate is fully processed. All assets have been liquidated and redirected per your instructions. Victor had dismantled Lawrence's fortune so completely that even his legitimate Palmer holdings were stripped, some seized by the state, others redirected to restitution groups, the rest given to non-profits aiding fraud victims. A fitting end for a fraud. And the other issue, Victor asked, Mrs. Lockhart's request for more support was denied. The court upheld the divorce agreement. Mary Ann had pushed for more funds, claiming health reasons, but Victor had disproved it with evidence her procedures were cosmetic. Good. That's all. He ended the call and refilled his glass, walking it to the window. Below, he watched Zoe get into her car, phone already to her ear, likely calling Blake, updating him on what was said. Blake, my son, my blood. For the first time in months, I let myself remember him as a kid. Eager, wide-eyed, always chasing my approval, always falling short of the impossible standards I set, and now those failures feel small, almost laughable. Was Zoe right? Had I been so shut off that Blake fell right into Lawrence's influence? Did my tunnel vision on success create the exact cracks Lawrence exploited? I shut the thought down. Doubting myself wouldn't change anything. Blake made his choice. A bad one, and choices come with consequences. That's how life works. Still, my phone buzzed. An email from Russell, the usual weekly update on Mary Ann. She'd moved into a modest downtown apartment, picked up a part-time job at an art gallery, and was hitting therapy twice a week. Her world had gotten small. Finances strained. I'd made sure of that. Every step of her decline had been calculated. She would never live the life she once had with me again. But the photos hit differently this time. She looked gaunt, drained, aged beyond her years. I didn't feel guilt, not regret either, but something. I closed the file and made a call in my head. Opened the secure app, typed it clearly. Terminate surveillance on M. No further reports. A small gesture, not forgiveness, never that. But maybe it was what Zoe meant, stopping the cycle. As for Blake, I pulled up my contacts, thumb hovering. Over his name. He'd paid a steep price for his mistake. Maybe it was time to shift course, not to trust him again. That door stayed closed, but maybe stop fighting. Before I could overthink it, I sent a short message. Dinner tomorrow 8:01 p.m. Morton's, just 3 words, not warm, not fatherly, but a start. The reply came fast, like he'd been waiting, clinging to hope. I'll be there. Thank you, Dad. I didn't answer. This wasn't a reunion. I wasn't built for that kind of healing. But it was a pivot. A shift in how I handled betrayal. Not for Blake's sake, but because Zoe had asked. Because some ties, no matter how strained, don't fully break, not even under my control. Night settled over the city as I stood alone in the penthouse, skyline glinting off the glass around me. I had dismantled Lawrence Petroff, cut Mary Ann from my world, made Blake pay. My brand of justice had been served. Now maybe it was time to see what still stood after the storm, what could rise from the ruins of betrayal. Not forgiveness, never that. But maybe, just maybe, a new kind of balance, a calculated relationship with his son, a polite tension with his ex-wife. Not because they earned it, but because Victor Lockhart saw more value in strategy than in dragging out vengeance. It wasn't mercy. It wasn't weakness. It was the logical next move in the chessboard of his life. A game he played alone, by E. His own harsh code, where winning meant executing your will with precision, not chasing happiness. Victor Lockhart had been betrayed, and he struck back as only he could, with cold, relentless precision. That would never change. He would never forgive, never forget, and never offer kindness to anyone who turned against him. But maybe, like Zoe said, he could choose the moment to stop, when the punishment had landed, when justice felt complete. Not forgiveness, just finality. He lifted his glass to his reflection in the window, a silent toast to the man he was, and would always be, unyielding, unmerciful, and alone, not by chance but by design. Victor Lockhart, a man with an iron will and a hollow where his heart once lived. That, he decided, was victory enough. This is where our story comes to a close. Share your thoughts in the comments section. Thanks for watching. If this story resonated with you, please subscribe to the channel. Tap the video on screen and I'll see you there.